So what is Evergrande, guys? Give you a quick summary. Evergrande is a property developer, the largest in China, and currently it has total liabilities of more than 300 billion and nearly 800 projects across China. And its shares has recently fallen by 80% because in August it was warned there's a risk of default. And there is also another property company called Fantasia, and that's defaulted on 206 million on a lot of his offshore bonds. So it's all of the papers in the Western papers. First of all, a lot of these Western papers are worried because a lot of Western banks and investors have invested into this company, and they could lose all of that money. In fact, they have lost a lot of money. So a lot of them are worried. And then you have all of these other China haters who are like, yeah, this is going to cause China to collapse. This is the beginning of the end. China's going down. China's going to default. They're going to have a recession. So you got all of these China haters, then you got all of these investors. And even to this day, there's articles all about Evergrande. So why has it led to this, guys? Why has it come to this? This is because the Chinese housing bubble is a big issue, and the Chinese government know this because, the past few years, the property prices have gone through the roof in China, and is way, way above what people can afford. I think it's 40, sometimes 50 times what people earn in China, while in London it's around 13 to 15 to 20 times. So it's almost double, really. But obviously, the London people do get higher salaries, but in China, the salaries are lower. But it's, 40, 50 times what you can afford. It really is too much. And the GDP has been growing in China, and most of it has been based on property values as well, and property investments and speculation. So there has been a lot of changes that the government has been doing. The government has seen this, and what they want a GDP growth which is based on proper doing work rather than speculation on property prices and things like that. So that's what the government is doing. And this year they're doing a crackdown on a lot of companies. And one of the crackdowns is called the 3 red lines. And they basically want to stop a lot of these Chinese companies from getting too much debt. So Evergrande has been basically getting a lot of debt to pay off other debts and pay off other property. Buying off other property land and also doing construction work. So they've been buying debt to basically service their debt and also service their apartments as well. So obviously, Evergrande has grown very fast in a very short time, and it's one of those companies who has really taken advantage of the huge bubble, property bubble that China has gone into. So things are changing now, guys, because what the Chinese government has realized is having a huge private debt like this and having property bubble based on speculation is not good for the Chinese government, not good for its people. And if it carried on doing what it is doing, it would have eventually brought down China with a big bang. So they're stepping in now, and stepping in now might be a good time to do it. Might cause some downturn, might cause some issues, but in the long term, it's a good thing, guys, because you cannot have these huge companies and property conglomerates racking up huge debts and putting big financial risks on the country, like what Lehman Brothers did. Once Lehman Brothers went down, see the financial crisis that happened in 2008 in the West, took them years to recover from that. So you don't want any of that. China doesn't want any of that. So they had to put a stop to it somehow, and this stop would cause some hardships. Some people would lose money, but they will get out of this crisis, and they will be better for it, because if they didn't do anything, everything would have just spiraled out of control, to be honest. So I want to kind of talk about I want to talk about George Soros, and many of you know that he's one of the great American investors. So he's recently come on board and said BlackRock's China investments are a tragic mistake. So he's also saying that the BlackRock initiative imperils the national security interest of the US and other democracies because of the money invested in China and will help prop up President Xi's regime, which is repressive at home and aggressive abroad. So why is he saying this? I also want to put your eyes into this article as well. George Soros' dream to turn China into a neoliberal privatization. So I want to kind of explain what this article says, and I'll try and give it to you in my own words. So basically what he's trying to say is he wants China to become like the Soviet Union or Russia back then when Yeltsin opened Russia's stock exchange to the American investors. So back then, I think it was between 1994 and 1996, Russia's stock exchange was one of the biggest in the world. So what Soros wants to do is take all the riches, like he did with Russia, take all of the riches, get all of the profits, and then send it to all the capitalist companies all around America, make the rich go richer in America. And he wants China to open up its borders and open up its financial system so that these Americans can get rich. So that's what he wants. So he wants to take all of the riches from China, and he wants to destroy the economy. As you know, the rich American companies are the ones that get the rewards, not China. So back then, when Yeltsin was in power, the Russian stock exchange between 1994 and 1996, was opened up, and that's one of the reasons why Russia's economy is doing so badly right now. It's still not recovered. Literally, America's took all of their wealth. And then put loads of sanctions in there in the next couple of years and throughout the history, and completely destroyed the economy, and they are still destroyed. And that's the plan with Russia when it was, in the Cold War, and that's exactly America's plan, what it wants to do with China. So Soros is furious that China has not opened up its financial system so American investments bankers would get rich from it. He's very angry that China is not following the capitalist and neoliberal policy that the American systems are running on. China is currently following a socialist policy to keep economic benefits at home to benefit its own citizens. So that's what China is focusing right now. Soros wants sanctions, and he wants companies to stop investing in China because he's not getting what he wants. He's like a little kid throwing his toys out the pram because China is not making him any money. So he wants to steal all the riches like he did with Russia and even Japan even. One of the reasons that Japan's economy has not been doing well, America's been stealing Japanese money for years as well. And the same with Korea. These vessel states who open up the economy so that Americans can get rich. But it's not happening to China, and China's not going to let it happen. So as you can see from this article, he's asking BlackRock as well as other investment companies to stop investing in China and stop pouring billions of dollars into China. So what's wrong with his thinking then? So I'll tell you what's wrong with his thinking. He thinks that China needs American dollars to build factories. He thinks China needs American money. It does not. He may have needed it 40 years ago, 30 years ago, even 20 years ago. But it doesn't need it now, mate. You've got, 1.4 billion people coming out of poverty. And most of them are in the middle class. China is moving from low wage into high skilled, high wage, and also high technology products. He's thinking that China is the same old China 40 years ago where it needs American money. It doesn't need it. So that's where he's wrong. He's very old fashioned. You can see he's an old man, old senile, basically like Biden. He's very old fashioned with his thinking. He doesn't think about the modern China. He doesn't know anything about the modern China. He thinks China will fall apart without US capital and without US investors. You're wrong, mate. You're absolutely wrong. He's living in a dream world where he thinks, you know, like, for example, he has a girlfriend, and he thinks his girlfriend needs him because he's got all the money. And he's like, go then, go leave me. Then, what are you going to do without me? What are you going to do without all my money? You're not going to leave me. You need me. You need my money. I'm rich, blah, blah, blah. And next day he turns up into his apartment and she's gone. You basically think that people need you. You think that countries need you. Well, they don't. China is well capable of standing up by itself. And look at China right now compared to 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. Look at their technological advances. China's system has changed now. It doesn't need BlackRock's money. It doesn't need Americans' money at all. So him asking Chinese businesses to stop investing in China, that's just going to affect Chinese business. That's just going to affect American businesses, because where else are you going to get 1.4 billion people? You got access to a huge market there. Recently, with all this coronavirus stuff, there's films coming out in Hollywood, like James Bond, and you got all these, you got Shang-Chi and all, Black Widow. You got all of these films coming out in Hollywood, and they can barely make about 100 billion in the box office. And look at China's latest film, the battle, where it was a battle about Chinese soldiers fighting in North Korea. And that film has grossed over 500 billion and is still making money. China doesn't need American dollars anymore. China doesn't need anything from America. So people think that China is about low-skilled labor, cheap factories, infrastructure. What people don't understand is China has some of the brightest minds in the world governing its economy, and these minds have been studying abroad. They've been studying in China, and they've been picked the best of the best. People that work in these industries, they're handpicked. Even President Xi has been handpicked to be the best of the best. Each person for each role in China is handpicked. It's not like in America, you go to an interview, or basically your dad's famous, or your dad's got a bit of money, and that's it, you get that position. No, it doesn't work like that. In China, you have to work for your positions. You got to be the best of the best for whatever position you're in. And these Chinese think tanks have looked at the Western model for years, and they've looked at the Western capital model, and they've looked at American model, and they've seen there's a huge gap between the wealthy and the poor, and the gap is growing. The poor are getting poorer, the rich are getting richer. People like Jeff Bezos are making billions, while there's people starving and all over America, and people dying. You got hundreds and thousands of homeless people all over America. The middle class is just basically becoming homeless because, first of all, if you lose your job, you basically lose everything in America. You lose your health care, you can't pay your rent, you're basically out on the streets. So a lot of people are becoming homeless in America, and you got to look at the kind of opioid deaths and COVID deaths. COVID deaths over 700,000, and people dying of heroin and other opioids over 100,000 this year already. And then you got all the murders and things like that, and don't forget about all of the people in incarcerations as well. When people are having poverty, where people are in low income, when people are homeless, they do crime, and it brings the rest of the society down. While Jeff Bezos and other billionaires are, basking in the wealth. But China doesn't want that, guys. China are trying to build a system where everybody wins. And I love how China basically brings people out of poverty, gives them houses to live in, gives them a way to make money, and is trying to share the wealth amongst its people. But China can see that there is a big problem with the property market in China. As you know, the property market has gone way out of control. and especially with Evergrande. And when BlackRock first went into China last year, I think it was last year or early this year, I can't remember the exact date. That time, the Chinese property market was still very, very hot, and BlackRock was really happy. They were just rubbing their hands in glee. They're thinking, yeah, we're going to make a lot of money. And this is when, over the last few months, China started clamping down, and so they started clamping down, and companies like Evergrande are being affected. And then BlackRock is also being affected because they've got a lot of money into the property sector in China as well. So they thought they want to make some easy money. And with BlackRock, they are very much speculation. They do a lot of speculator investments, so it's easy money for them to put it in property because they know property prices in China has been shooting up last few years. So a lot of their money is in property and Evergrande. So this is why BlackRock's really worried, and Soros is really angry because he thinks all of this money that BlackRock's been putting in, they're going to lose it, and rightly so. So with Evergrande, house prices over the past few years have been rising because of speculation. And so you buy land or property and watch it go up in value without working. And there's obviously two ways to make money in China. You can work hard for a living, or you can buy property and watch the price go up, and rental and things like that. So there's hard working ways to increase GDP, and there's the soft working ways to increase GDP by doing nothing, basically just sitting on land and watch the price go up. So that's the difference between China really and the West. China is doing something about it. They look at the Western system and they can see it's hugely flawed. And the flawness has been popping out over the last 10-20 years, and is very, very, very visible now, especially with amount of people that have gone into poverty in America from the middle class. System is very, very flawed. So what Wall Street wants, they want to grab these Chinese assets on the cheap so they can sit on it and do nothing and get the profits. So let the Chinese do all the work while these Wall Street sharks get all the money, basically. So that's what they want. So with Evergrande, Xi said, properties are there to be lived in, not speculation. So the reason he said that, as you know, that there has been a lot of ghost cities all over China over the last couple of years, few years, 10 years even, 20 years. And, all of these property companies have been building apartments, thinking, eventually someone will live there based on speculation. And he doesn't want that. And he says, these properties are for Chinese people to live in. They're not there for speculation. They're not there to be kept empty while property prices rise. You can't have a system like that. If you build a property, people need to stay in it. And that's that. That's how it should be. And China knows that, with increased price of properties, the cost of living goes up and inflation goes up. So they're trying to put a stop to it, and which is good. Best time to do it is now. In the UK, we have £1 million houses all over the River Thames, and they're always been built. And then, if you look at the prices, they're over £1 million, and some of them even 2 million, 10 million even. You get penthouse apartments, but when you drive past in the night, there's no lights on, and you think, what's going on? Is there nobody live in these apartments? And then you contact your local estate agent, or you check the internet and you see if there's any properties available in that apartment, and every single property is sold. So why is it all empty while everything is sold? Why is it all empty? Why is there nobody living there? Because you have speculators from all over the world buying up these properties around London, not living in them, and just sitting and waiting. They don't even rent them. They're just waiting for the house prices to go up and go up, and that's what it is in China, and it's exactly the same system in UK, and it's a huge problem. It's a huge bubble that's happening all over the world, and this is gonna cause a huge crash in the future. Lehman Brothers is nothing compared to what's coming. So as you can see, China's trying to do something about it. China wants its GDP to grow the right way, not through property speculation. So that's why China is clamping down on everything. It's clamping down on companies such as Evergrande, and bloody Evergrande. I mean, come on, these guys, they're opening their own EV company and all of these other companies. They bought a sports team with debt. It's not even their own money. They bought it on debt. It's crazy. I mean, you cannot let Chinese companies get away with doing things like that. So if Evergrande does fall, it would be a good lesson, not only to Evergrande but to also other Chinese companies as well, not to get into huge debt. So it would be good for the future of China if this happens. I mean, in the short term, there will be a lot of people angry. There will be a lot of people who have lost money, but the long term, this is going to be the best for China. And sometimes you have to do these things to think about the long term. Short term, it might cause a lot of anger, but this has to be done because you cannot let these companies get into huge financial debt, which can cause a huge issue to the Chinese system in the future. So that's all I wanted to say really about Evergrande. And all of these Chinese haters or anti-Chinese who are saying this is going to cause China to collapse and this is going to make China go into recession. It's not going to go into recession. It's not going to collapse, guys. This is property, basically. What China is going to do, they're going to get hold of all of these properties, get them finished, sell them off. They might not make a profit because the whole property prices have gone down, but these are actual assets. Once they sell off, they'll make money. Evergrande itself will be broken down into different sections. There'll be a section for the EV, and there'll be the property market and property development company will be broken down and sold off. There will be some heartbreak, but this isn't Lehman Brothers, guys. This is not going to be Lehman Brothers, and China has got deep pockets, and it can overcome crises such as this. And to be honest, this was coming sooner or later, so it's best for this to happen now rather than later. And it's a good thing that China is clamping down on it now rather than 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, where it's going to be even a huge risk. You cannot let companies such as this pick up debt after debt after debt. Somebody had to put a stop to it, and they're doing it now. So those people who are going to say that China's going to collapse, no, they're not going to collapse, mate. This isn't. It's going to take a lot more than that. So keep dreaming. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care for now. Bye.